synopsis of what the last 8 or 9 days have been like since the season ended. And, Sam wasn't the first choice, but how you wound up with him.
Yeah, so, I mean, the last 8 or 9 days, really the last 2 to 3 weeks since I let Coach Morris go, I spent a number of hours on the phone talking to my colleagues around the country, talking to NFL scouts about the preparation of players from the college ranks and who does it the best, talking to other football coaches, trying to determine what our pool should look like. And so I didn't target one person as I started this search. I had a list of probably 35 to 40 3 weeks ago that through my research and the vetting of candidates narrowed that down to a working list of 12 to 15 that became even more of a working list of the people I wanted to make sure they got an opportunity to get in front of and talk to. And from there, a lot of things happen. I mean, coaching searches are difficult. They take many turns, and it's a roller coaster ride up and down. And Sam Pittman, I can tell you, he was the only one that received a letter of offer from the University of Arkansas to be their head football coach.
Hunter, that letter written by former players endorsing Coach Pittman, what effect, if any, did that have on your decision?
I never saw that letter. When the search starts, I'm off of social media. The letter that he spoke of never reached my desk. Darren McFadden called me about the letter, told me about the letter. That was my knowledge of the letter. But believe me, Coach Pittman got a number of people that did have my phone number. I don't know why they didn't give it to him. That called me on his behalf.
Hunter, what was your first introduction, or I guess when he came across your radar? Was it when Darren McFadden called you, or was it when his agent reached out to you? When was that, and at what point also did you realize that you needed to get a coach that really wanted to be at Arkansas?
Well, I've always realized I needed to get a coach that wanted to be at the University of Arkansas. I think that's very, very important in this state. But, I mean, from the time that we made a change in our leadership of our football program, people started talking to me about Sam Pittman. Obviously, he had developed quite a reputation for recruiting and offensive line play when he was here. And then I started doing some of my own research and talking to people across the country about Sam and watching him sometimes on the sidelines and trying to digest any type of videos I could of him and his enthusiasm. And then him and I visited a couple times by phone before I had a chance to officially meet him.
Hunter, what would you say were the biggest differences in the coaching search process between hiring the basketball coach and hiring the football coach just a few months ago?
I would say there was just so much more of an interest across this state and across the nation. I mean, SC football is an animal unto itself, and so I think it's just so much scrutiny on hiring for an SEC head football coaching position than there is a basketball. A lot of scrutiny, at least I thought at the time, for the basketball search, but a totally different animal. The level of interest was just off the charts compared to the basketball search.
Hunter, a couple things. One, can you be specific about what the pool is, salary pool is for the assistant coaches?
Bob, it's roughly about $5 million is what the salary pool for the assistant coaches is. And so what we do is we give coach a pool. He can divide that up however he sees fit amongst his 10 assistants. And obviously there's going to be more money most likely invested in the coordinator positions, and then he'll work his way down from there.
And then also, you said Sam cried, when you offered him the job. You've hired a lot of people. Has anybody ever cried before? What did that mean to you? And do you have any people that have reservations? They love Sam, great old line coach, but he's never been a college head coach at this level. What would you say to people to allay those, concerns?
Well, I will tell you that when I offered the job to Coach Musselman, he had the opposite reaction. He screamed and yelled and dropped the phone and was running around his house. He was so excited. So I think everybody expresses their emotions a little bit differently. I think it showed truly what that meant to Sam and Jamie to be coming back to the University of Arkansas and to be coming here as the football coach. And your second part of your question? You can just tell me. I can hear you.
It was, a lot of people say, man, Sam's a great guy, great offensive line coach, great recruiter. But he's never been a head coach beyond JUCO, and that was like 30 years ago. What would you say to people who have concerns about Sam's lack of head coaching experience?
Well, I think he touched on it. At some point in time, you've got to get that experience as a head coach. I mean, he's been in coaching for 35 years. He's been an associate head coach for 10 to 11 years. I don't have those stats right in front of me. He's been in the Southeastern Conference as associate head coach. He's, was Kirby's really right hand. He has absorbed all of that and sunk that into himself, just like the fact that I was never a director of athletics. Now, you can say that the Southeastern Conference maybe is a tough place to cut your teeth as a head coach, but I don't think Kirby Smart was a head coach before he got the job at Georgia, if my memory serves me correctly, and he's done a pretty good job there.
Hunter, as far as the passion that Sam Pittman clearly showed there for Arkansas, for the people in Arkansas, you spoke about how you knew for sure when you made the offer, his emotional reaction, you knew you had your guy. What about a moment before that, when you were talking to him, when you were getting to know him, where it just clicked for you, you knew he genuinely understood and appreciated Arkansas?
Sam, I think it probably happened when Sam and I were talking on the phone one of the first times we spoke. And, he talked about, you talk to coaches and they talk about their game plan and how they recruit and things of that nature. But he understood this state. He understood that we have a unique mascot. He understands about calling the Hogs. And so simple things like that sometimes coaches, when you're interviewing them, haven't done their research on those types of things that are important to people in this state. Yeah, we want a great football coach, but we want a great football coach that understands the state and what makes this state special.
There's a lot of people nationally that have a misconception, and I think a lot of people in this room know that those people are probably confused that Arkansas is the problem, why this program hasn't been winning. Did you run into any of that, people having a misconception that Arkansas, you can't win here or anything like that when you're out on the road?
No, I think what my sales pitch to people is we have 19 sports programs. 17 of our 19 sports programs have winning records in the past year. We've won 3 national championships, albeit all of them within our women's track and field program. That's 3 more national championships than anybody else in the SEC. Vanderbilt's won one last year in baseball, and I think Auburn may have won another one in equestrian. But we've won 3 at the University of Arkansas. Our baseball program has a top 5 recruiting class at the University of Arkansas. Our men's basketball program has a top 5 recruiting class. We have over 10 teams that have been ranked in the top 25 nationally. It can be done here at the University of Arkansas in our football program because 17 of our other sports have proven that it can be done. And so that's my sales pitch for anybody who doesn't think that our football program can be great here. We've got so many other programs that have proven that they can be great here. Our football program can be great. Of course. I mean, I think people see this as a daunting task, and some people are just not cut out for it. We're at the bottom of the toughest football conference in the country right now, and we've got to fight our way out, and you need somebody that wants to get in the trenches and fight, and not all head coaches are cut out to have that type of task, and some knew they weren't cut out for it. Some that you have to do some research and find out for yourself that they're probably not cut out for that. So absolutely it's a challenge, but it's a challenge that I think Coach Pittman is definitively up for and wants.
Hunter, how big of a factor was it, Pittman maybe presenting some candidates to you for offensive and defensive coordinator? Was that involved in process, or do you just look at his resume and maybe his connections that he has?
No, absolutely. I think when you talk about someone coming in for the first time as a head coach in the Southeastern Conference and the staff that they believe they're able to put together, which could include some former head coaches that he'll surround himself and insulate himself with, I think that's a big deal when you're talking to somebody about that.
Hunter, the buyout language on this seems to be trending toward a direction you'd like to see. Can you just talk about the negotiation there, and are you on the front line of something here?
Yeah, well, I said from day one at my press conference that I don't think that we should pay a full buyout for coaches who are not successful in the role that we hire them for. Coach Pittman is an old-school football coach, and he shared that principle with me. And he had absolutely no concerns for a contract that I think provides really good protection from him. That buyout is if I let him go for convenience and he's won less than half of his games, then he gets 50% of the remaining salary. If I fire him for convenience and he's won more than 50%, he gets 75% of his remaining salary. He thought that was really fair. We've got to stop in this industry these huge buyouts of multi-million-dollar contracts that we're providing to coaches. Coaches deserve some security, but boy, we have let some coaches go. And if you look back at their Southeastern Conference records, we have paid significantly for unsuccessful tenures with head football coaches. And I was glad that Coach Pittman was willing to join me and help change that narrative. And maybe this is just the start of something across the country.
Hunter, I know you don't look at social media, but some of your staff probably do. And as the search wore on, people got tired, some got angry, but you completely flipped the narrative with Sam Pittman. I don't know if you were aware of the outpouring support for him when it was floated that he could be potentially the head coach, and how much does that help you going forward that you have a fan base right now that's behind him?
So I knew that the hiring of Sam Pittman was going to be popular, but I had no idea how popular it was going to be. And I think I said that earlier in my remarks. It is amazing how many people across this state that Sam and Jamie Pittman both touched during their short time here. I mean, 3 years, and to think of the impact that they had on people across the state. Now that he's the leader of this program, I'm excited to see the impact that he and Jamie have across this state and on our football program.
Hunter, when this started, people talked about getting someone that knew, that had ties to Arkansas or something.
Sure.
But, did Sam kind of fit the deal of having not just Arkansas ties, but SEC experience and knowing what the SEC is about? Because it seems like some coaches come in that haven't coached in the SEC, they get almost overwhelmed at first.
Absolutely. He checked several boxes. I mean, first of all, the ties to the SEC and the recruiting ties to this conference. He is known throughout the country, and you can go back and look at the kids he's recruited in this conference. While he was at Arkansas, at Georgia, when he's at Tennessee, he is a relentless recruiter, and it's through relationships that he builds with the young men and their families. And that is a big part of this. Is not an easy conference to recruit within. It is cutthroat, to say the least, and I think he understands that more than a coach that's never recruited in this conference may understand. And now he'll bring some coaches in here that have recruited in the SEC, some that probably haven't, but he'll be able to teach those coaches and hold them to task on that. So that was a big part of it. The other part of it is we haven't been good, quite candidly, on either side of the ball in the trenches, and we've got to improve there. And that comes through toughness, and that comes through the development of the size and the size of the athletes that we recruit. And I think he is a development of offensive linemen, and he'll help us in that area, and that's really important to our program. It's very important to the skill players, a quarterback that stands behind the center, the running backs that are running, and the receiver. We got some great receivers, but we got to be able to get them the ball because we're giving our quarterback some time to get the ball to him. And so it's a big part of. He checked many boxes for us.
Hey, Hunter, kind of through this process, a lot of names obviously popped up. Barry Lunny's over the last week. Conversations you may have had with him, I know he said God has a plan for him, and the coach touched on a little bit of base about their relationship. Do you foresee him staying around, and also how close was he to being at the podium today?
Sure, and other than Coach Pittman, Barry Lunny will be the only candidate that I will comment about in the search, but I thought Barry, during the 3 or 4 weeks that he was our interim coach, had earned the right to officially interview with myself and John for this position, and we did that last week. He did an excellent job. He did nothing but improve and enhance his stock as a potential head coach, but in the end, I thought that Coach Pittman checked more of the boxes of what I was looking for in our next head coach. As far as him being retained, I know that him and Coach Pittman met this morning, and I really think, and Coach even touched on that, it's probably a question you need to ask Coach Lunny about his tenure here as it moving forward.
Last one here in the middle.
It's really quiet during a coaching search with you, and I was interested to know how many people know what's going on throughout the course of this. People make up sources or whatever, but how many people actually know what's going on from you during a coaching search?
3. And I meant 3. And I trust myself, and I trust John Fagg, my deputy AD, and I trust Steve Cox, who is on our board. So if there's any information out there that didn't come from the 3 of us, it probably had a great chance of being incorrect and inaccurate.